Alright, here is the video review for Fans Hobby Master Builder MB-21 Tsunami, aka their title slash Shockwave, whether you want to call him Tidal Wave or Shockwave. Shockwave was his name in Micron Legend in Japan, and a Tidal Wave here in the US. Personally, I like Tidal Wave, but Shockwave also works. Shockwave also fits, I think, the purple color scheme here versus the green and gray that we got in America. Although a lot of the colors are very similar on the American version. It's mostly just these front bits were green on the American version, and a little bit more gold here on the legs. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about the differences between these things. I'm here to talk about this version of the toy, and he's really pretty cool. He works with MB-21, their previous release in the Master Builder line, and it's nice to have him here. He gets a few little extra pieces, some of which we'll show off during the course of the review. He has an extra faceplate for Tsunami in robot mode, and then he comes with a couple of smaller alternate faceplates for MB-21, however you want to say it. Yeah, MB-21 is how I'm going to say it. Like a screaming mouth and then a calm mouth. You can swap those on. We may show those off depending on how much of a pain in the butt it ends up being when we get to the combined mode, because it looks really cool all together, but there's some fiddly bits getting it all to stick. You get two small micro robots here that turn into jets. This one, which looks more like the original ramjet that came with the original Tidal Wave, and then one that looks more like a standard F-15, I believe, F-14. I used to know the difference between the two of them just on site, and now I'm struggling, but yeah. So you get a couple different micro robots, and they're very simple transformations. They fold up like this, fold up the fins, and extend the legs. On micro robot, I believe this is micro robot B. You just fold the fins back, and they got ball joint shoulders, little hinges for arms. Their heads do rotate, ball joint hips, hinge knees, and that's pretty much about it. But there's micro robot A or micro robot B, I believe. Well, I can tell you on the back of the picture. That one is Mini Robot B. This is Mini Robot A, which makes sense. He's more, since he's modeled more after the original toy. But the same kind of thing. Fold the fins back, extend the legs. You can kind of see the pin that allows them to slide. But you got the same ball joint shoulders, hinge elbows, rotating head, ball joint hips on them. Oh, there's where the magnet is. Ha-ha! Well, that answers a question. So now we know that. Look, they're friends. They fooled around and fell in love. Anyway, yeah. That'll come back up later in the review. Not so much the eroticism and attraction between the two of them, but the magnet itself. But there's the two mini robots. Also in jet mode, we'll go ahead and use this one to show off the storage. You can, if you fold it all up, fold up the fins, fold up the nose cone, fold up the wings, but leave the legs collapsed. This is the dark fleet here, the fleet mode of the three individual things. The pictures show these folded up. You can have them folded down if you want them to look more like underwater fins or whatever, but that's just how we're doing it. But here's the one. You got a cool little conning tower here with a rotatable, I believe it's a radar dish, but scanner that spins around here. But you can, just like on the old toy, there's a little opening elevator, and you can store one of the mini robots in there. Just close it up, and now it stores inside there. But one of the cool things is, before there was no really action feature on this deck. There were a couple of Minicon ports on the original, and we will show off the original here soonish. But if you take one of there's two little like launching ramps, spring-loaded launching bits that you can take one of the jets. I forgot to flip out. They have, sorry, I didn't get my fingernail in. There's also flip-out heels on these mini robots. That was my fault on the feet. You may hear my wife. She's running her weekly D&D game in the background. So her players are having a good time. They're doing a dragon campaign. But yeah, so right here, these little launch platforms, and they're spring-loaded. So if you push this, it actually pretty significantly, I mean, it's not going to probably not going to put somebody's eye out, but it does actually launch the jets off of the carrier. And then if you don't want them to launch, They actually have a little, you can see there's a slightly divoted program. You just fold them down like that and have the carrier mode here stay flat. There's nothing really, there's no action feature or anything, nothing amazing here on this part of it. It does have two little fold-up mini-con ports here on the back, or mini robot ports, so you can store one or both of the jets here in vehicle mode, or in robot mode if you want to have somebody attached to his knee. That's how they powered up in the cartoon. You can rotate those around. Make it look more like a jet. Oh, there we go. Anyway. Ignore me. And then there is the kind of dual canopied boat here. It does have the missiles that the original did here. You launch them. There's a little button here on the side. That was just disappointing. Did that not? Maybe I didn't have it. Oh, I didn't have it pushed all the way in. That's why. But again, not a huge amount of force, but it does launch them. And it's very easy to, in robot mode, pop them out and have to search for them all over your kitchen floor. Trust me, I spent probably about 45 minutes doing exactly that yesterday. So I usually leave them, I usually just put them back into the box or store them in robot mode. I will say though, Fans Hobby was very smart. You can see here's this little tab, and then here's the actual button to launch the missile. And they did put cutouts here, so when you fold these down for robot mode, you can do so without activating the button. If you're just a little bit off, though, it's really easy to push that button and shoot the missile out of his armpit and potentially lose it. So, yeah, just be careful with that. I'll leave them in for transformation just to show off how that works. But yeah, I do appreciate that they made it so it's very difficult to fire them accidentally in robot mode, unlike the original toy, which is why his missiles are in a parts bin. But yeah, it's still doable. There's some little turrets here that can rotate, little small turrets. These turrets, you can lift them and angle them up and down. And of course, just like on the original toy, you don't need to have one attached to do it. You can manually do it. They're not locked in the same way that the original Armada toys were, where you had to have the mini-con post that would activate unlock something here in the thing. You can do it manually, but you can also, if you want to, for the nostalgia factor, attach a mini robot here and use it to rotate those cannons here on this piece. Combining them is very much like the original toy. I will say the instructions have you just fold these out, and there goes the missile. We'll pick that up in a minute, or maybe we'll just pick it up later. I don't know. I see where it went, so we'll find it. These come out to the side. And the instructions have this, it says prepare this piece like this, and then this goes in, and then these pegs go in here. I found the easiest way to do this. Well, first off, fold this flat, fold it down, push that into the body. You can see there's some cutouts for the dish there. And then, it's not really a dish, but you can fold that cover up, fold these flat, like that, fold these two pieces out. But like I said, the easiest way to attach it is, I find, do it straight, have one side straight, plug it in like this, and then angle this one just a little bit. So when you bring this down so it angles in like this, and again, I launch the other missile, you kind of snap it into place as you rotate that into position, and that's a much easier way of locking it together there. Go ahead and put this missile back in here. And then here you can see there's a couple of, I like the little propellers in there. Here, I even like how it looks like there's a power connector port inside there for connecting his wiring up when you can combine the robots and the torso. But there's some little turbines in this. And then on the back half, again, obviously fold those down. Open this up out to the side. And before you connect this into, you can see there's the post, there's the turbines go, there's the power connector. Before you do this all the way up and fold it up into the body, one, there's a very thing that's very easy to miss both in the instructions and physically on the toy. These little panels right here stick out, and they'll prevent this from folding flat. This piece comes out, and it even, you open it up, you slide it down so it has the clearance up here, and fold it around like that. And if you just grab it and fold it all the way around, it will automatically kind of push itself in that slot. But you can see there's a sliding mechanism there. But make sure that comes all the way around, and that's going to let these come all the way flat up against this in combined mode. But even before you do that, You can see there's a big gap here in this piece. But if you lift this up, there's a folding panel that's specifically for both robot mode and this vehicle mode. You fold this panel up, or fold that up, and then fold it down like this, and then this will kind of angle in as you bring the legs in. And then you close that back up, and this fills in that gap here, so you don't have a big open gap here in boat mode, which is kind of cool. You don't, if you want to leave these undeployed, you absolutely can. It's just if you find that gap to be a little unsightly, there you go. And then again, this will just snap into place right here. And once that's done, you bring this up. There is a small little tab right here that's going to go into this slot here on the body. And I just shot the other missile. Jesus. You guys, I swear to God. And then this little tab right here will lock into place up underneath this. So you just bring that in, tab that into place. And it helps if you just flip it over and you can see how to line that up. So that little tab here tabs in up here where it should. And just do the same on the other side. You can kind of pre-angle that piece in, but you can see as you do this, as it collapses in, the hinge is loose enough and designed in such a way that as you collapse this leg, that part of the panel that angles inside the body automatically does so. And latch that into place up here. There we go. Oh, nope. There we go. Make sure that snaps into place, and then fold the fins down. And there you have a very large aircraft carrier mode for Tsunami. You can't even fit in the frame. Well, actually, I also knocked my camera around, but it's very, very large. And just for the sake of comparison, here it is with the original. I'm just going to rest him on top here. The original figure, just to give you an idea of how. Come on, my tripod wants to mess with me now. See if we can get a shot of the two of them side by side. This angle makes it look like he's not much bigger than the original tidal wave, and he actually is significantly larger. Like it's not as big of a difference as the new Titan class tidal wave, who is very large, but it is a significantly bigger figure overall. His transformation to robot mode is pretty much, with the exception of some small panels, unchanged from the original toy. Well, not these small panels, but those leg panels. So again, untap the legs, bring them down and around. This is going to be hard to do entirely on camera, but I'll try to keep all the relevant points. Rotate them around at the thighs here, like that, and then rotate. I'll fold these pieces back in first. Again, don't forget to slide that back up to the proper position. These panels right here is what I was folding up. I come around to the waist, so this comes around to the front, and then this panel right here lifts up. A little piece on this is going to come into there. Once you've done that, you can rotate the torso. Oh, maybe we need to bring the arms down first. So again, tripod. Try to lock it better. But split the arms here right down the middle. And bring this up and around to the side here. And then kind of up and around to the side. Now you can rotate this piece down and around, and then you can see this piece we just pushed up, that's going to slide underneath it and connect in like that. The arms, I went and hunted down the missiles. They comically went like in extreme directions to the left and right. Even though they both shot right down here onto the table, one went all the way that way and one went all the way that way. It took me a little bit to find them. So we'll put one in here just to show you how this works. If you do it right, these two pieces should slot right into this gap. Well, I see I launched the missile. It doesn't, the slightest misalignment and you will launch that missile. But you can have this come together in a way. There you go, just like that. Missile did not launch, and those segments, you can see it kind of nestled up in there. but it doesn't take much of a misalignment to fire it. That's why I generally just, if you want to put it back in after you've transformed it, you can, but I found that like moving the arms about can sometimes cause it to move just enough to fire that missile, so I just usually keep them in the baggie. We'll bring the arms down like that, rotate the forearms, there's fingers here, and bring the thumb up a little bit. Just, again, if you messed with the tidal wave at all, you know the transformation. Again, rotate it. So this is like this, bring the arm up. Again, there's the thumb, and then the opposable fingers here, like that. Down here on the legs, this panel comes back out. This panel here on the bottom comes down and folds around to the back like that. And then this slides down into the body like that. So the knee's about at the level of this. And then this panel, again, you kind of have to flatten it back out, but it fills that gap and keeps the legs not looking so hollow. And then you just open up the thing, flip up this panel on the foot, rotate the foot forward. I thought this would rotate it all, but this actually is the heel back here. It's kind of an angled heel, but it's there. Same over here, lift it up, fold it up. You can rotate this around and fold it however you want. But then again, on the underside, fold this down, bring that panel back out, pull this down, and then collapse the leg. And then we'll stand him up. He is very tall and barely fits in my review spot here. Can we get all the way up to his head? Well, we'll lift this up to his head here in a second. Maybe if we rotate this around a little bit, we can bring this up to his upper body. Here we go. Can we lock it? There we go, we did it. All right, and then here, we get his arms all lined up here. Everything lined back up properly. And then on the back, I'll flip this around here. There is a panel here. And then inside there is his head. So I'll go ahead and lift that up. Rotate it around to the front. Close that panel. Rotate it back around. And there he is. Large and in charge in robot mode. Very tall. If you want to get an idea of how tall he is, let me grab a couple of... Well, and here he is with my Tyranno. Again, we'll get him off to the side here, just to show off how big these guys are next to each other. So he's very large. He's a little lanky, but big robot. And then here he is with his OG self. Get him out of the way here. We'll get him focused. There we go. Just to give you an idea of how tall he is. Very posable. He's got ball joint at the neck. He can look all around. He's got the ratchetings there at the shoulders. He can go both ways. He's got dual hinge elbows, so his arms can fold all the way up. He's got wrist swivel. They built that into the fleet thing. He's got individually posable fingers and a big fat thumb, just like the original. He's got a waist swivel, although again, this kind of gets in the way of it. Ratcheting hips, thigh swivel, ratcheting knees, and then posable feet. He also has, oh yeah, I don't know how much of that. I'm gonna get this. It's a tripod. I'm gonna have to replace this tripod soon. I mentioned the magnet earlier. Let's see if we can get this to work through his helmet, because he does have in the back of his head. And one of the things I like is they made it so you don't need screws to do it. He has a little battery pack in here that you put the battery in, and he's got a magnetically activated light up eye feature. And at first, before, I wasn't sure that, because the instructions say magnetic eyes, but don't tell you where the magnet is, which is why I had that revelation with the jets earlier, because I know with Overload, he had the special bit in his shoulder to activate the lights. So let's see if we can get this to activate from behind with the jet. There we go. Oh, it worked. Hey, and you see his eyes light up. So that's pretty cool. Can we turn them off? You just got to get that, there we go, that little magnet there in the chest of the mini robot to line up with the back of his head. And then, of course, give me a second. We'll go ahead, we'll get him all back into fleet mode, and then we'll attach him his armor to Meg Tyranno. Also, real quick, before we finish this process, I mentioned we'd swap out the face plates on the thing. This is the one that came attached to TSUNAMI. It's just kind of a stoic face, whereas this one now currently attached has kind of, you can see his teeth. It's robot teeth. He's got more of a grimace versus just kind of a stoic closed mouth. That's all. Anyway, back to the rest of it. All right, and so I've got everybody in the right configurations now to show off the combined mode. So for Meg Tyranno, you want to just bring the turret around at the waist and lift it up here a little higher than that. So it's right there. Kind of press it in. But you want to make sure his torso here is slid all the way back. You want to have access to these ports and this ridge here. This can slide around a little bit. We'll deal with that later. Let me get him in focus. There we go. Now, the arm pieces, you can see there's a cutout already. You don't have to flip anything. You don't have to change anything. You just snap this in. There's a groove for the thing, and it just snaps onto each forearm. I just got to get it, make sure it's lined up deep enough so that knife goes in there. And attach it. And then we'll get the one over here. Line it up. And snap it onto the forearm. He's going to get a little front heavy right now, so just kind of be prepared for that. And then the legs, let's go ahead and slide them off to the side here. Well, all right. You just basically fold them up like this. We'll get them attached here in a second. And then there's a couple, these are linked, but you want to flip these connector ports out. Those are going to plug into his body, and then there's this little cutout and this little cutout, depending on how you attach it, will fit on that slot we saw on the back of that chest piece. So we'll take this, we'll take Meg Tyranno, and again, you want to get the peg, you want to hold, make sure the torso's pushed back, all the way back. Put the pegs into the into here, bring these shoulder panels up, and then make sure this little slotted piece goes into those cutouts on the back. That's the trickiest part. You want to make sure that lines up properly and everything plugged up. See, because it's very easy to see. You want to make sure you're putting pressure on the torso because it's really easy to push that forward as you connect this. Come on. But once it's connected, there we go. We'll get the leg back up here. You've got him all powered up and armored up. And this version looks a little silly. Because he's so large, it's a big robot here. Well. And that's why I got to get that backpack connected. Hold on, I'm just going to connect the backpack and then we'll show it. All right, here he is in one configuration. And that's pretty much how everything attaches for the most part. You can flip, like I said, the pelvis can go one way or the other. I'm going to show you two other configurations. One is basically just flipping those the back pylons around so they're facing down. And then one breaks them in half and gives him bigger feet, which makes him taller. But yeah, he's just as posable as he normally would have been, but it's a little difficult to get him to balance. His ankles don't support a lot of this weight if you put him in some really he's not leaning against anything right now. He's not leaning against the back of the desk or anything, but like you don't want to wibble him too much when he's got all of his stuff on. So yeah, I'll go ahead and flip the things down and we'll show off a different configuration for combined mode. All right, and this configuration is literally just unpeg the backpack, flip it over, plug it back in. It's just if you want a different orientation for those back attachments. Just to show you. It's all right, but it's I think the other one's more dynamic. And now we will pop these in half. Actually, I'll show you some of how it splits. on the backpack. So basically on the legs here, we're just going to pop these off, fold these up. Actually, these probably should have been folded up the whole time. Now that I think about it, and then we'll turn these into giant feet and we'll show that off. All right, and to transform this foot into a foot, basically we leave it like this. We fold this down like that. There's a little panel here that folds up. You don't have to flip this up, but it fills in the gap here on the back. Just like that. And then you'll fold this outer panel out like that. And basically you're going to take Megatron's foot, snap it into here, and then this is going to be on the outside of the foot, and then fold that up and do the same for the other side. It's just going to be this outer panel and this outer panel. We'll put those on his feet, and then that'll be the last combined mode. And here he is now with the big feet. This one is the most precarious of the combined modes because I will say Tidal Wave, he's got a lot of hollow bits, you know, with panels that hide him. He doesn't have a lot of electronics. So I think Meg Tyranno on its own is actually heavier than Tidal Wave or TSUNAMI, even though he's a much larger figure, which helps with this. But Meg Tyranno's ankles, for whatever reason, putting these bigger feet on him raises that center of gravity on that ankle just enough where he's a lot more wibbly and more prone to like toppling over with his with these ankles. At Meg Tyranno's ankles, not at the TSUNAMI feet we've added. But there's the full combined mode. But it does give him a little better proportions. I like giving him the bigger feet. And if you give me 1 second, I'll grab Naval Commander and all his attachments and show them off side by side so you get an idea of their scale. And here he is with Naval Commander and all of those attachments, just to give you an idea. Like Meg Tyranno with TSUNAMI ends up being just a smidge larger overall, and certainly an area taken up. I think Naval Commander ends up being a more cohesive unit, but with those extra feet raising them up, they really look like they could take each other on. So that's probably how they'll be displayed if I can sturdy those ankles up a little bit on the shelf. But there is MB-21 TSUNAMI with all of the other figures from Fans Hobby. This will probably be my last video before the holidays, before the New Year. So have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope your holidays are great. I hope your New Year is great. And here's the 2025. Again, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you soon.